Thank you, Congresswoman Chu. And that was just the beginning. Our next person that we'll bring up to the podium is Congresswoman Colleen Hanabusa. She proudly represents Hawaii's 1st Congressional District. She brings to Washington a passionate, hardworking, and fearless approach to advocacy, owned by more than 3 decades, spent fighting for the rights of her clients in the halls of justice and her constituents on the floor of the Hawaii State Legislature. Congresswoman Hanabusa, a Yonsei 4th-generation American of Japanese ancestry, whose grandparents were interned during World War II, has dedicated her life to service and is committed to providing for the people of Hawaii while preserving the unique values and traditions that define the Aloha spirit. Now, along with her legislative work, Congresswoman Hanabusa is also an attorney with more than 3 decades of experience. She has championed the causes of labor, preserving and protecting the environment, and stood up for communities she saw being bullied by private interests. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me in introducing Congresswoman Hanabusa.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Right. Okay, good. First of all, thank you very much for being here and to give us the opportunity of sharing our stories with you. Let me begin with my story. I'm sorry, your name? Kathy. I'm sorry, Kathy, I can't remember. As Kathy said, I'm what Japanese Americans call Yonsei, which is 4th generation. And that means, of course, that my great-grandparents came over to Hawaii. And I came with a very interesting background. I had grandparents, great-grandparents who came in not to work in the plantation, my paternal side, but they came in sort of like entrepreneurs. So they did tofu, they did a bit of a restaurant. They did all these different kinds of things. And my grandfather, one grandfather, my paternal side, was actually born in Japan because they also went back whenever children were to be born. So that grandfather came back to Hawaii when he was about 12 or 13 years old. My other 3 grandparents were all born on Waianae sugar plantation. Being from Waianae also makes it very unique when you look at Japanese Americans in Hawaii, especially my generation. Waianae, the coast area, has the highest percentage of Native Hawaiians, not Japanese Americans. So when I decided to run for office, it was really a matter of how would I present myself to this community. And basically, the way I decided was just to tell the community why I was running. The reason I was running is, as you know, earlier I said I was 4th generation from the area, is simply because of this. I grew up in Waianae where there were no sidewalks. It was a plantation town. And the story I tell, and everyone laughs about it, but it's the absolute truth, is I grew up when roller skates were those metal wheels. You remember that? Yeah. The key was the most coveted thing. You never lost that key. Well, we had no sidewalks. We had asphalt. So when you tried to roller skate, it'd be on dirt. Then they gave us sidewalks, and our sidewalks were raised asphalt, just a little bit higher. I thought that was great because raised asphalt meant we didn't have to try to skate in the dirt. The only problem is, if you ever fell, and I fell a lot, on raised asphalt, spent the time digging those things out of your knee. Then one day, I went to play with my cousins in Kaimuki, which is urban Honolulu. And I never recognized it or realized it before, but they said, bring your roller skates. So I did. And they had these things called sidewalks, concrete sidewalks that went around the block. You didn't have to stop and go to get off the dirt and get on something else. You could actually continue with the roller skate. And the most phenomenal part about it was, when you fell on concrete, it didn't hurt. And you didn't have to dig out those black things from your knee. So what happens is, after years of being an attorney, and I go back and I ran for office relatively late compared to everyone else. This is my 13th year in my total political career. I did it because I lived here and I said, they still have raised asphalts. We don't have sidewalks. And I've always had this sense of what is fair and what isn't fair. And at that point I decided, I'll run for office. have an established law career, but I'll just toss it out and see what people say. People told me I was absolutely crazy because I had a very rural community, a community which all socioeconomic indicators had them at the bottom of the island of Oahu. So why would a Japanese American run from the Waianae Coast, which has Nanakuli, the largest homestead development? And just for those of you who are not familiar with Hawaii, homestead developments are areas where if you are 50% plus Native Hawaiian, you then qualify for a 99-year lease. You don't even own the property, you just qualify for a 99-year lease. So why would someone like me run in that area? And my response was, this is where I'm from. This is absolutely where I'm from. So one of the issues they wanted us to discuss is what is the thing that you treasure the most? First of all, I got in, I defeated an incumbent, and the head of the legislature, the Senate at that time, I ran for Senate, was a AJA senator, been there many, many years, who came up to me and said, you're a little different from everyone else, so we're actually going to give you a committee straight up. So the committee they gave me was called Water, Land, and Hawaiian Affairs. So I called my major constituent supporters, and I spoke to the Native Hawaiian ones and said, they want me to do Hawaiian Affairs. And they said, don't do it. Don't do it. And I said, why? I said, they want you to fail. I bet that's the reason why. And I said, why? He said, remember last year? Some of you may remember Congressman Ed Case. Congressman Ed Case and another AJA senator by the name of Randy Awase and a Native Hawaiian by the name of Malama Solomon. They put together what they called a corporation where they wanted to revamp the structure of Native Hawaiians. That's the first time on the grounds of the Iolani Palace that they burned people in effigy. They did. They were so upset with them. And they said, this is a Native Hawaiian issue. They're going to set you up, and that's exactly what's going to happen to you. So don't do it. Of course, not knowing any better, I thought, well, of course, I'm going to take on the challenge. I didn't do it. And I found out later on, by the way, that my supporter was absolutely right. They thought that someone like me coming in would be difficult to handle, so they thought they'd give me Hawaiian Affairs and put me in my place. I got to tell you, best experience I ever had. Absolutely the most wonderful experience. It forced me to really, truly understand the nuances of the issues surrounding what are the Native Hawaiian issues and what are the rights that we are balancing in that community. And one of the most special awards that I received, and I was very fortunate, I received many of them in my career as a senator, was one called the Mea Hano Hano Kako'o Award. It was given to me by basically they call it the Center of Hawaiian Study, the College of Hawaiian Study. It is a part of the University of Hawaii Manoa campus, which is the main campus. And it translates as basically an award for someone who is not Hawaiian, who has done a lot for Hawaii. And it's a book about Kalo, which is Carol. And they said to me when they presented me the award that you've come in, you've learned our issues, you feel our issues, and as a result, this is our way of thanking you, is to recognize you with our Mea Hano Hano Kako'o Award. And I've had a lot of that kind of experience. So for those who are considering running for office, let me tell you one thing. I am far from what many people thought would be successful in the Waianae Coast. However, the one thing that I did learn is you must listen. Not because of any other reason, but you must listen. If you think you're running for office, listen to that constituency. Listen to the people that you have got to make them feel like they have an investment in you. Because if they don't feel they have an investment in you, you are not going to win an election or represent them in any effective way. So when I was beginning, when I started to run, the person told me,